Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you are watching Plus Politics, and tonight it's time to bring you the second part of our conversations as we focus on Edo State. It seems that cultism and other criminalities are just taking center stage and causing a concern for the Oba of Benin, Oba Ewuare II of Benin Kingdom, and has raised the alarm that criminals, including bandits and herdsmen, are building camps in forests within his kingdom. This is coming at a time when kidnapping is on the rise and the Boko Haram terrorists continue to displace lives and properties. Is there any solution to these insecurity issues, and should even the call come from the Oba? Well, I still have with me in our Lagos studio Francis Chilaka, a political affairs analyst. Thank you very much for staying behind, Francis. Now, the Oba has raised this flag. In the first place, where lies the security apparatus, the army, the policemen? It's rather coming from the people. So is this a good nod coming in terms of community policing and fishing out elements that shouldn't be?
Well, the Oba has done the right thing, but my worry is that, like you rightly said, where is the police? Where is the army? Edo State, we've known, has always been a hotbed when it comes to cultism and all of that, but they're going a step further, taking over the forest, like the Oba has said. What it simply means is that nobody would be free to go on the roads anymore. Yes, I'll tell you, 5 years back, we had an experience of what the Oba is talking about. We're going to Irekba, a town in Edo State, to do some community health service. And then when we got to Ore, there was this mad traffic. So they opened up some access. So we drove in. And then as soon as about 10 vehicles drove in, they closed it. And then we got to the front was closed. And you
were trapped in between?
Yes, and we were robbed. So it's not something that started today. It's always been there. But the reason why the Oba is now screaming is because the new dimension to it is the firearms that these people now have with them. So that is why he's screaming.
So would you say this is also coming along the strategic talks and meetings that we've also had with the Southwest governors? And don't forget that just barely 24 hours after the Southwest governors met, 28 passengers, including the driver, were kidnapped by gunmen along allegedly Akure, Ikere, Ekiti. And we've had conflicting reports, and also the police authorities also debunking the fact, the figure.
Well, the thing is this, it brings me back to saying that sometimes those in governance just talk without taking into consideration the feelings of the people. Everybody who is a leader is expected to mentor people. You're expected to carry people along. So when you speak, everybody pays attention.
Okay, talking about speaking now, the Oba has also directed the Enigedos and the Dukes as well, whom he met with, to nominate credible persons from the village who would be part of the security surveillance team. I think this is making reference to vigilante group. I know we've had earlier discussions talking about incorporating the vigilante group into our security apparatus, and one of the issues that was raised with the other guest who was here was the fact that these individuals are also, there are certain instances that they might be compromised. But now the Oba is saying that, well, he expects to have people who are credible. Are we going to, in Yoruba, for example, they say whatever eats the vegetable lies within the vegetable. Do you think we would have that replicate, or would have credible people come to bear and form part of the security surveillance?
Knowing the way things happen in Benin and with the Oba itself, I know that people who would volunteer will be very careful, and I know that the Oba would bring his traditional power to bear.
What do you mean by traditional power to bear?
Most likely those who would volunteer will probably ask to take an oath. And we know how we in this part of the world react to oath. I'll tell you something. I said something one time. I said that maybe it is time we begin to ask our governors and our ministers and our commissioners to begin to swear an oath with Ogun and Ifa and all of that. Maybe that would work. It has worked in the past. Maybe we should go back to that. Christianity is too mild.
So are you also leaning to the call from Afenifere, where they also say in areas where it has to get to self-defense, you have to go traditional?
I think that's where we're heading to.
Okay. Now, also a statement by the Chief Press Secretary of the Oba was also quoted as saying that the Enige and that the investigations had also revealed herdsmen, kidnappers and other set of criminals were established in various parts of the villages. But now we are not having the information as to which area exactly. Is this a good or a bad? In terms of focus, and yes, we know all of these bandits and kidnappers are also aware of the happenings. They know the strategic steps that are going to be taken. But don't you think that if we are specific on the areas where are allegedly the camps of these bandits, kidnappers, and unscrupulous elements, then we can always put a larger concentration on those areas and
well, I think also the Oba and the secretary, they're being very smart. They're also trying to protect their people.
But the information is out there.
Well, the information is
vague.
Yes, it's vague. It's not like here. It's not like saying this person told us.
So not to cause panic.
Yeah. So if you look at what happened in is it Borno State recently at is it mobile headquarters?
Yes, mobile. Yes.
Where 25 farmers were. And then if you listen to comments, I mean, witnesses saying that the bandits that came, or the herdsmen that came, or the Boko Haram people that came, said that they came to punish them
for speaking up. So
you must take that into consideration, and I think that is what the Oba has done. But then this is where I have my own worries. The Oba has said this. He has this information. This information now should be given to the security architecture. They should know the security should now begin to work hand in toes with those people.
That's why it says Enige would also form part of the security surveillance, and I believe it's talking about the joint efforts with the police and army and all of those. But really now, when we call for citizens' engagement and community policing and saying the people should come out there, looking at all of the attacks so far, where if you speak up, you could also be silenced back into fear. What level of protection do you also expect state governments and our traditional rulers provide for the people so that they are comfortable enough? For example, the average Lagosian here in Lagos, an armed robbery is happening right next door, you wouldn't come out. We've been driving through roads in Lagos and they're virtually cracking somebody else's screen, taking phones and everything, and everybody turns a blind eye.
Yes, because
is there any protection?
Because they are not armed. Don't forget, I mean, no matter how strong you are, you cannot challenge a man with a gun. It's only a madman that would do that. So, when the presidency directed that people should turn in their guns and all of that, people started asking questions.
Okay, Francis, I'd like you to hold on that thought. We have to just take a quick break, and when we come back, the conversation would also take a diverse route. Well, we'll just take a quick break now. When we come back, the conversation continues right here. Francis Chilaka is still here. Glad to have you back, and it's still Plus Politics, and now we are focusing on the call from the Oba of Benin. And joining us now in our Lagos studio, we have Peter Egbedo, a security expert, as well as Francis Chilaka still in the studio. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And now the conversation, you are from Edo State, so that's good enough. We've had the directive of the Oba saying that the Enige should nominate credible people to help join the security surveillance team to ensure that they fish out every single element, be it kidnappers, Boko Haram terrorists, bandits, you name it. The Oba is talking serious this time around. But the question I asked Francis initially was that, did he have to take the Oba to make such pronouncements? Where was the army, the police?
Well, to an extent, they've been asleep. We'll call it what it is. We'll call it a spade. People have lost confidence in to a large extent, the ability of our security services to provide security of lives and property. And when that does happen,
the charges to the people take the call.
Yes, and you find that when we get to that phase, it's almost the next phase to anarchy. For people to be taking arms, people to be looking for means to defend themselves like this, there's panic. For instance, there was an incident in Okada town in Edo State yesterday. Some of these herdsmen had raped and killed a woman about a week ago, and then yesterday another incident happened. They even mutilated her corpse, cut off her leg, and there's a huge hole in her neck. I saw the video around 8 p.m. yesterday evening. So the youths had caught some of these herdsmen and then avenged the murder of that woman by killing them. So you found that, as at this morning, people were fleeing from Okada town because they were afraid of reprisal attacks from these herdsmen who were hiding in the bush. When people get to that point, they will either, when it gets to the fight or flight stage, you find that is the next phase to anarchy.
You talk about fight or flight stage. Now, what else do we also have to look towards fortifying the people? Because before we took that break, Francis was of the view that there is need for the protection of the people to ensure that if they speak up, they are protected. But we look at so many scenarios and we've had attacks to make them cow or just go back into their shells.
Well, if I want to speak from a historical standpoint, the Benin Kingdom, or which you have, is a monarchy that has existed for at least 6 centuries, and you have the people by nature are fearless, they are courageous. So if you look at, to an extent, what has happened across other parts of the country, the people have been docile in their responses. I believe that by nature, the Benin man or the Edo man will not agree to be suppressed by outsiders. And you can see, that's why you can see some of the steps that have been taken. The Oba of Benin is revered across the world because that monarchy, that kingdom has survived for years, for decades, for centuries. For him to speak up like this, it shows that people will eventually turn back to the systems on which they've relied from time immemorial.
Traditional means of production?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Francis, you already have a nod here, but coming back to you now, the Benin monarch has also said those to be nominated by the Enige would be thoroughly ascertained to have integrity and uprightness. What does this mean, and how do we define who is upright, and how do we also define that scope so that we have these people play according to what we expect?
Well, like I said before, the Benin Kingdom, which he has also said, is a kingdom that is well revered. The Oba is going to go back to his traditional ways. People will be made to swear an oath of allegiance, accountability, and responsibility to the people. It will work. When we have gotten to that point, I keep saying it, our Christianity is wonderful. It is the most humanitarian religion. But Nigeria right now, we do not need it. What we need right now is something that would really shake people.
This is your personal opinion.
It is my personal opinion.
I'm of the opinion that whatever the Oba of Benin is doing, you know, what people have to be able to defend themselves. It calls, and again, if the state or the federal government refuses to acknowledge the efforts of the Obas, you will recognize that in other places they've held traditional rulers responsible for what has been happening in those places. So it's taking the right steps.
But looking at the meeting of the Southwest governors as well to ensure that the spate of insecurity within the region is brought down to the barest minimum, and they are holding talks with other stakeholders. What do you also expect from Edo State and other environs?
Well, I expect the people of Edo State.
The proximity of Edo State to the Southwest is not too far away, but what other regional efforts do you expect?
My first concern is the fact that in other places where these things have happened and governors have come together to have meetings, the results have not yielded any results.
No change in body language? In efforts?
The results, nothing has happened. People have been killed. People are still being killed till now in the Middle Belt, in other parts of the country, and now we're seeing it descend towards the Southwest through Edo State, which is gateway between South and the Southwest. If that happens, it shows that to call a spade a spade again, like I've said before, we are one step away from anarchy.
Now, in wrapping up your last words, what do you think would happen with this directive now? Do you think it's going to be a success and a story that might be replicated, looking at traditional rulers taking the center stage and defining to what extent is standing up for the people and protecting the people? Because if government has failed us, it lies on us.
No, well, what I think is going to happen is the call for state policing is coming up. there's no going back at it. Because once the traditional rulers would eschew, greed, selfishness, and come out to, take the people along with them, because the people are the reason why they are there. Once that is done, you will see that a lot of things will change, because the people know who these people are. So it is better for them to get involved in it.
And Peter, how do we now well incorporate our vigilante to ensure that we are not having people who are compromised, but rather we have people who are ready to be selfless in their sacrifice and beef up wherever we have deficits with our security apparatus?
One thing is for certain. The fact that state governments acknowledge the traditional rulers, they have traditional rulers council, there's an extent of faith in their system to work, to get things to happen. But when we look at it from this standpoint, because the people have a lot to lose if they don't get it right at this level, you can be sure that they will throw everything that they have at this problem to counter it.
Okay, and this is where the cookie crumbles in tonight's edition of Plus Politics. Thank you very much for your time, Francis Chinaka. It's been a pleasure speaking with you from Edo State and also looking at Bauchi as well. Thank you very much. An interesting conversation and quite a stance going back to our roots, and hopefully you also have your own means of protection. Oh, do you have any chance anywhere?
I'm a charming guy, man. I believe I've heard.
Thank you very much for your time, Peter Igbedion. And this is where the cookie crumbles, but we still have plenty more, as I'll bring you my take after the short break, and we also take plus packages. Don't go anywhere.
It was a General Assembly comprising of young Nigerians from across the country. Some of them say it is an attempt at contributing their knowledge and expertise to the governance of Nigeria.
This assembly is all about bringing youths to discuss challenges facing the country and then providing ideas on solutions to the issues. Youth are full of innovative ideas, actually, and we feel there should be a platform where they can bring all these innovative ideas they have to put it into action, so that we recommend it for government, and whoever is relevant to that solution should get tap from the youth ideas, those innovative ideas I made mention of.
We are hoping that we have people who are able to come together, identify the solutions to the issues that we have in Nigeria. For this year now, we are looking at youth in decision-making policies and the rest of them. So we're hoping that at the end of the day, we have youth that are like, okay, so let's go and get involved in this. We can play a role. We do not have to wait till we're in our 50s. We do not have to keep on complaining about the way Nigeria is. We can do our own little things to get involved in decision-making in our communities and make Nigeria a much better place.
It's an opportunity for young people with brilliant ideas and solutions to problems that they found in their community. We actually have delegates from 36 states of Nigeria, including the FCT. So a total of 37 delegates and participants from across the country. So what they've been doing is sharing their solutions, their ideas that can solve problems in the community that they live in.
They say it is a deviation from the past, and it is about taking responsibility for their future. They are also confident their ideas can make an impact on governance.
We all have roles to play ourselves if we're going to make Nigeria a much better place. The only thing is that we need to strengthen ourselves with the knowledge expected, and once we have that, then I believe that we can actually contribute our own quota to this country.
The young people in this nation we are tired of just being the underdogs, being used when elections come. We have our own contributions to make. We see what is happening. We know that we are the solution. So we are saying to the government that there are better ways to do things.
Beyond talking, the youths are working. Even with the little resources that they have, there's so much resourcefulness. They are already taking steps. Some are already working in partnership with the government, working with other organizations to solve problems.
Some of the delegates in attendance expressed their thoughts for their states of representation.
Ebonyi being an agro-allied state, and one of the thematic areas in the conference is agriculture. So we are looking at how we can be able to leverage and improve our agricultural sector through our improved value chain from this conference and make our produce, like our rice, our cassava, and other staple crops we produce in Ebonyi, known to the whole world.
We are proposing some strategic implementation wherein the hub intends to partner with several civil society to integrate more youths in different skills, and not just integrating them or skilling them up, but helping them climb up. So we intend to do that via partnership from public sector, wherein these organizations help in provide internship opportunities and also job placement for the already trained youths in Taraba State.
Maryann Plus TV Africa. It was a General Assembly comprising of young Nigerians from across.
It's now time to bring you my take. Now, concerning the Bauchi State Assembly, I have to say that I am sad, really. When did politicians become thugs and people that will strategize in order to ensure their choices are selected, and why? For selfish interest? I respectfully ask that we prioritize the development of the country and not filling our pockets and interests. And also, I believe the government needs to really prioritize the issue of insecurity across the country, because as you can see, the epidemic is spreading across the country, and if we are not careful, soon all the states would be declared unsafe by foreign governments. Lives have been lost every day, properties have been destroyed. It's time to take the bull by the horn and destroy this from its roots. Provide quality education and employment opportunities so that dangerous ideas don't rule the actions of the citizens, because even the Bible says, well, a jobless man is the devil's workshop. Many thanks for watching. Tonight, I'm David Alabi. It's another date, same time tomorrow, right here on Plus Politics.